So I'm right here by the Lincoln Park Hotel, and you can't quite see it. There you can see it, the Lincoln Park Hotel. And this is right off of the zoo, and there is a atrium right here as well, where you can see beautiful plants and that. It's awesome. But the thing here is that it's got a beautiful roof patio. Truly, it's got an outstanding roof. I've never been up there. I've only seen people up there. But again, it's a good place for weddings and other parties on the rooftop, private parties. And you get a beautiful view of the park. And you could do something where you have a reception up at the Lincoln Park Hotel, and then you come down here and you can have the dinner, because the rooftop is not great, but the reception before, and you're just walking. You have a rooftop reception, and you go up there for cocktails and everything else. And then you come over here to the Chicago Historic, which is only a block away. You can just walk right over. And I've been here for a wedding, with Coleman's wedding, and it was beautiful. And that's the last time I think I saw Jen, and we had a great conversation. Truly, me and Jen had a very, very good conversation. And it was great. And it's the last time I think I talked to Erica, and not to, the other girl. But anyways, I saw her at Costco. But Erica and Jen, the last time I talked to them, and these three girls, Erica and Liz Sue, they came up first. So I think Erica I talked to first, then Liz I talked to, then Jen came over. They were sitting at the table across from me, and it was an incredible conversation with all three girls. Truly, it was very beautiful conversations with all three girls. They came up one by one. I had, say, 10 minutes with each of the two girls first. Liz, then Erica, or Erica, then Liz. And it was great conversations. And then Jen came up as the third girl. And all three of them talked to me personally. And it was, I thought, very touching, very, I have great relationships with all three of those girls, or did. And it was really wonderful to see all three of them and have a deep, meaningful conversation with all three of them. But again, it's right down here, and then you can do something. Now, remember, you're staying at the Lincoln Hotel. You're at the Chicago Historical Museum. And then right over here, you just walk from the Lincoln Hotel, and you can take this side street, not North Avenue, not the main street, less traffic, and right around this turnaround right here, as you're walking by this building, right at the end of this building. And remember, this makes this building way more valuable. That's right here. Right where that car is flashing, there's an underpass that takes you right onto the beach. So I think the underpass is right here. Yep, the underpass is right here. And that property right next to the underpass is worth a lot more. You have direct beach access through this underpass. So you can go on to the beach if you want, after you have the reception at the Lincoln on the rooftop, and then you have the dinner and dance at the Chicago Historical. Go out to the beach for a dance party. Have the final third part on the beach. Have a dance party late night on the beach. Just make sure you do it when the weather's good. But now with long, advanced meteorology, which is so important for all these events, it's critical for all events that they get long-range meteorology. So you can plan these events way far in advance, like weddings you need to, and so you don't run into these tragic situations where you have to postpone or cancel part of it. And that means a lot of lost money for people that planned on doing the events. So think about that. You have a reception after you go to church. You have the wedding in a church. Then you go to the Lincoln Park Hotel for a rooftop reception. And you can have live music and a beautiful evening, rooftop reception. And then you come over, walk down the street to the Chicago Historical Museum, have the dinner. It has a beautiful outside balcony, truly, that overlooks a nice park area here. Beautiful balcony. And then you go from there and you have a dance reception and entertainment on the beach. I mean, isn't that kind of like one of the ultimate weddings? I would think it's kind of like one of the ultimate weddings. Wouldn't that be great? Thinking of things like this. See, I had to get into all this because I was planning for Jen's wedding, for my marriage to her. So I had to think about how I was going to get engaged because the guy does the proposal. And so I was thinking about how I was going to propose to her. Would it be at a Cubs game or a Bulls game? I had connections all over the place. Would I do it in a restaurant, something more private? Or you can go to Howling at the Moon or Dueling Pianos. You can, the Redhead Piano Bar. You can have it done there, and the piano player can get you both up to the piano, and then he can introduce, and then you can do your proposal as he plays a certain song in the background, as you on your knee giving her the proposal in front of everybody. That's fine. It's a small, intimate setting at the Redhead. It's a bigger setting at the Howl at the Moon. But you can get up there and do the proposal, and they can play beautiful music, and you're down on your knees, and you're giving the ring. Now, remember this. I asked Jen 3 different times if I ever asked her, would she marry me? And she said, if you ever ask, I say yes. She 3 times gave me that I ever asked that she would say most definitely yes, without hesitation. So you can ask that. Never do it unknowing, because it puts them and you in a very awkward place. So there is nothing wrong with asking the question and they say, well, right now, I don't feel it, or, it's something we got to think about, but okay. You're not going to do this proposal and all of a sudden get rejected. You don't want to be rejected. This is a big moment for you and them, and they don't want to do the rejecting, which happened to me. But as I said, 3 times she told me if I ever asked. She didn't give a clarifier. She would say yes. So the whole point is make sure and that this person is going to move forward. Don't just pull something out of thin air and then all of a sudden both of you feel horrendous because they feel guilty. It really does destroy a relationship too. You can deal with a situation where they say, okay, well, I don't feel right now that, and then you can work on it. Say, okay, well, since we're together, right? We're still in this relationship. When you ask the question, you're in the dating relationship, then ask them, well, what do I need to do? Work on. Like one of the ground rules was for me, if I got married to Jen, I have to get my master's degree. Abby told Matt, my nephew, and this was the ground this what broke it. Abby said, well, we're moving towards marriage. And she said, I have one requirement. You have to get a master's. And if you say yes, then we can get married, and then we'll work on getting your master's. She got her master's, and Jen required me to get my master's. And I said, that's fine. When we, get married, I'll work on it, and I will accomplish my master's. Part of the agreement. And it goes into the prenuptial. And you can set up penalties if they don't obtain those agreements. So this is what prenuptials are great for. You can set out these requirements, like you'll lose 20 pounds. And it's in the prenuptial. You'll do this. You'll get into an exercise class. You'll do certain things to improve yourself. If I take this commitment, I have certain requirements with the commitment. And if not, then the penalties occur. So that's part of the prenuptial. You can agree to these things that you want to see improvements in. And they're right there, and then set in the penalties. Truly. And they can go as far as separation. Now, the penalty could be temporary separation, and if not accomplished, leading to permanent separation, or it could be something less, like a financial penalty. But you could go out and buy your luxury car because they didn't do it. So some way to get goodwill to yourself because they just made you feel bad because they didn't honor their promise. So you have to penalize them. So again, you put it in the contract of what you expect out of that person. And the contract in the Bible has the requirements. Excellence before God. Anything less fails the requirement. I'm sorry. No. So again, there's requirements. And the Bible says excellence. You think it's a funny thing, but you take it as a joke. I take it deadly serious. You play with your soul. I don't. So that's okay. And I've took it deadly serious since I was a child. So that's why I march away from any negative. No matter how tempting, it doesn't matter to me. I am perfect in my resolve. I might stumble a little bit. I've never stumbled big. And I've always walked away. Truly. And every time I came more firmer in my resolve. So there is no breaking my resolve. So anyways, so put that into it, the requirements. Like, I'm looking at a Chicago police officer. What are the requirements for improvement? Every year he works, he either improves or he gets terminated. There is no not getting better. That includes his marksmanship and everything else. Consistent improvement. Truly. Even if it's very small, but if there's any going back, then if the skills are diminished, then there is penalties. But here's Oak Street. So what do you do? Get the wedding party in on a Wednesday. Not Thursday or Friday. Get them in on a Wednesday. And then set up shopping sprees around the city. Truly, set up adventures. Go to the History Museum. You know, we used to do a morning after breakfast at the resorts, and we set out this beautiful next morning breakfast, and it was awesome. I worked some of them and elaborate Next morning, beautiful breakfasts before they leave. But again, I'm talking about staying in and take them down here for an adventure and set up these different adventures. So again, here's Magnificent Mile. Take them down here for a shopping spree. Truly, just line it up and talk to the places. This is for their own shopping, not for buying the wedding gift. That is a registry and you can do separate. This is for their experience. Make it about them as well. Make it memorable for them. Not just all about you. Make it about you and them. Set up experiences so they can think fondly back on you. Like, wow, I went to that wedding and it was in Chicago and they took me around on a shopping spree. You can get a trolley, you know. Those buses they use for parties, use them for a shopping spree. Or use them to take them on adventures in Chicago. Truly. Use them for a shopping spree and take them around Chicago on a bus. Your wedding party, and go to different locations and let them go shopping. Like drop them off on Oak Street, let them go shopping, then take them down to the Magnificent Mile and drop them off, and there's the meeting location to pick back up the bus, and they can store all their packages on the bus. So take them for a shopping spree and then book the bus again and take them for adventure. Go to the Chicago, the Modern Art Museum, the Museum of Contemporary Art. Here's the Nike store on the Magnificent Mile. Take them for an adventure, like do Starbucks. You know, you have morning coffee and everything, afternoon tea. Well, there's coffee services as well. And if not, create them. Tea services are way old. So there's the Russian tea room and different tea services. They have it at the Peninsula. So if you're staying at the Lincoln Park Hotel, you can use these different hotels. They have different services like the Peninsula. You can go there. You can go to the Park Hyatt for a dinner, just a friendship dinner, not a, rehearsal dinner. But this is early, and so take them to Park Hyatt. They have great burgers. After you do the adventure, they're on Mag Mile. Take them over to the Drake Hotel and have a burger at the Drake Hotel. And then for dinner, come down here to the Intercontinental and go down to Jordan Steakhouse. Here's Michael Jordan Steakhouse. They should have this in where? There should be a second one. Where? The United Center. Yes, there should be a Jordan Steakhouse in the United Center. And the Bulls need to realign themselves with their heritage. So the Cubs, Ryan Sandberg in that. That's great. And they got the statues. Harry Carey, I was mad at the Cubs when they lost Chip Carey. He went to the Atlanta Braves. But he was awesome. He was paired up wrong. And they lost Steve Stone to the Sox. And Steve Stone was great with the Cubs. Chip Carey and Steve Stone would be a super team together. And both of them have substantial heritage with the Cubs. Now they have heritage with the Sox. But the whole point is there's Harry Carey's restaurant. And again, that should be in Wrigley Field. Harry Carey's restaurant should also be in Wrigley Field, aligning the heritage. And so they should have in Wrigley Field the museum, and they have Harry Carey, and they should have his stuff at Sox Park. First time I saw Harry Carey was in the bleachers at Sox Park. I was at a Sox game. He sat with the fans in the bleachers. How many announcers sit with the fans actually in the bleachers? Harry Carey sat in the bleachers at Sox Park with the fans around him, and he drank Budweisers with them in the fans. And yes, they would have beer fights, and it was fun in the bleachers. People would throw beer. It wasn't physical fighting. It was for fun, and they throw beer. Okay, I was good with that, but Harry Carey encouraged beer fights, and people would get soaked with beer. But the people that went to the bleachers knew that was part of, the entertainment. And yes, the cups of beer are a little bit more expensive, but again, they used to have this for fun, just have this little beer fight. They wouldn't throw the cup. People would just throw the beer into the air. They would just throw that beer. They held on to the cup. They didn't throw the cup. They just tossed the beer up into the air. And then it would come down on you like a shower, not tossing it in your face, but people would throw it up, and then people on the upper part would pour it down. And so you would get beer raining on you. But again, it was all part of the fun of the atmosphere that built back. But how many announcers actually sit in the bleachers? How about for a soccer thing? The announcers can get out of the booth and join the fans. They do it for ESPN Game Day. They do that whole booth, and the fans are all around them for the pregame. Well, Harry Carey was in the bleacher with the fans during the game. He used to sit with the fans. It was awesome. And then Steve Dowd came for Disco Dynamite. Now, he blew him up, but with too much explosives. He didn't have a good pyrotechnic guy, but he blew up all these disco records. And I watched that stunt. And then we had Mancow in Chicago who did the stunt at McDonald's. And he was, I think, in a coffin. But that turned out a failure. It got some promotion, but it didn't go well. It didn't go the way he thought it was. Now we had the preacher, Corey Brooks, who did the roof thing in Chicago. He camped out on the roof. And so, again, these things. So, anyways, and another thing, I'm not giving money to homeless people. But this is awesome, too. Here's another adventure when you come to Chicago. Speed chest. And so the only thing is, you got to do it standing up. I don't know if he has any chairs, but I like speed chest. They do it in Finding Bobby Fischer in the park. Speed chest lets you think fast. Teaches you to think fast. You're on a timer. You're under pressure. So you learn how to move fast, think quicker. And then chess is a more slow, methodical game. But speed chess, it gets those brain cells firing. You got to think fast. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And they should